Hello and welcome to the November edition of Special Olympics Montana Unified Champions Schools webinar series. Thank you for joining me. Today we will be talking about inclusive sports. The vision of Special Olympics is that through sport, we will be able to open hearts and minds towards people with intellectual disabilities and create inclusive communities all over the world. Some challenges that we're up against in relation to creating these inclusive communities include that students with disabilities participate in less school-sponsored sports, clubs, and organizations than their peers without disabilities. While 2/3 of all students with disabilities spend more than 80% of their school day among their general education peers, for students with intellectual disabilities, that rate falls to 17%. Despite legislative mandates and changes in policy, the promise of inclusion has not fully been realized as the full participation and acceptance of students with disabilities into the social fabric of the school remains elusive. Only 10% of all youth report having a classmate with an intellectual disability. Students with disabilities are less likely to be involved in school-based physical activity, healthy after-school pursuits, and are more likely to engage in sedentary activities such as watching TV. Less than half of high school students are attending physical education classes each week, a percentage that is down from 56% just 10 years ago. 15% really participate in any physical activity on a regular basis. In a study conducted by the CDC called Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance, it reported that only 29% of students were physically active at least 60 minutes per day during all 7 days of a week. What they did learn is that activity increased. 73% of high school students were not physically active at least 60 minutes per day during the week. Of these students studied, 15% reported that they did not participate in at least 60 minutes of physical activity at least one day a week. 52% said they did not attend a physical education class at one or more days during a week. And conversely, 48% said that they attended a physical education class on one day a week. How do we overcome these challenges? Special Olympics believes that by unifying our youth, we can start to overcome these challenges. Unified Champions Schools is a strategy to activate youth, engage educators, and promote school communities of acceptance and inclusion where all young people are agents of change. Unified Champions Schools reduce bullying and exclusion, promote healthy activities and interactions, combat stereotypes and stigma, eliminate hurtful language in schools, and engage young people in pro-social activities that lead to improved behavior and school climate. The Unified Champion School approach incorporates Special Olympics sports and related activities while enhancing the youth experience and empowering them to be change agents in their communities. This requires a shift in current programs and paradigms from a focus on events to committing to a movement advocating for youth as leaders. This programming promotes social inclusion in schools to ensure special education and general education students are equitably engaged. Teachers and students are encouraged to collaborate and create supportive classrooms, activities, and opportunities. Students should be encouraged and supported to be agents of change, have opportunities to be leaders, and participate in collaborative and school activities. To achieve this, school leaders and educators must foster a socially inclusive school climate that emphasizes acceptance, respect, and human dignity for all students. A socially inclusive school is a place where no student is excluded because of the degree or type of disability or the services required by his or her needs. Past evaluations have found that whole school awareness activities are important for reaching the greatest number of students and have the most direct impact on students' perceptions and attitudes toward inclusion in the school and classroom settings. However, the smaller team or club-based activities, inclusive youth leadership clubs, or unified sports, can provide students with more meaningful social interactions with their peers with disabilities, which allows students to personally gain the most from their involvement. Therefore, Unified Champions Schools program activities have maximum impact on student and schools when activities from each of the three core experiences are offered in concert with one another. Unified Champions Schools engage in a three-component model: whole school engagement, inclusive youth leadership, and inclusive sports are the three components of a Unified Champions School. Inclusive sports or fitness opportunities bring students with and without disabilities together to participate in inclusive sports activities, such as Special Olympics Unified Sports, Unified PE, and Special Olympics Young Athletes. Inclusive youth leadership offers opportunities for students with and without disabilities to take on leadership roles in promoting Unified Champions Schools program activities or other socially inclusive events in the school and community. Examples include unified or inclusive youth leadership clubs, youth activation committees, youth leadership training, attending the Montana Behavioral Institute's youth days, and unified clubs. Whole school awareness and involvement opportunities include chances for students in the school to participate in a Unified Champions Schools program, such as Spread the Word to End the Word campaigns or respect rallies, fans in the stands, adopt a team, fundraising opportunities such as polar plunges with Special Olympics, and a variety of other type of whole school engagement activities. Today, we'd like to discuss inclusive sports, one of the three core components of being a Unified Champions School. A fully inclusive sports or fitness program that combines an approximately equal number of students with and without intellectual disabilities is the hallmark of what we consider an inclusive sports activity. The idea is that every student should have a chance to share in the joy of sport, interact with other students, and be part of their school through sports. By playing, learning, and experiencing sports together, students with and without intellectual disabilities find that they have a lot in common. Shared experiences between students engaging in inclusive sports activities oftentimes build and sustain friendships both on and off the field. Special Olympics Montana offers several programs under the umbrella of inclusive sports for Unified Champions schools. Unified Sports is divided into 3 types of programming models. Sport activities fall into one or sometimes 2 of 3 models: Unified Competitive, Unified Player Development, and Unified Recreation. Many Unified Champion schools choose programs that can be categorized under the Unified Recreation model. To meet the inclusive sports component, schools can adopt a variety of unified recreation programs such as Unified Physical Education, Unified Sports Experiences, Unified Field Days, Unified Sports Demonstrations, the Young Athletes Program, and a variety of Unified Fitness Clubs. Special Olympics Unified Sports includes 3 inclusive sport models that involve individuals with and without intellectual disabilities. In all 3, athletes and partners participate together as teammates. While all 3 models have social inclusion as the core outcome, the structure and format of each model varies. Regardless of model, unified sports teams should never be comprised solely of people with disabilities. In the unified sports competitive model, schools bring together students with and without intellectual disabilities of similar age and athletic ability to train and compete on the same team. The competitive model combines approximately equal number of athletes and partners as teammates. Athletes and partners should be of similar age and ability. No modifications to rules should be applied. School-based teams in this model often compete within an interscholastic athletics league, an intramural setting, or through Special Olympics Montana's official local, regional, or state level competitions. The Unified Sports Player Development model is similar to traditional unified sports competitive model, but teammates of higher abilities serve as mentors to assist teammates of lower abilities in developing sport-specific skills and tactics and in successfully participating in less structured, cooperative team environments. The player development model combines approximately equal numbers of athletes and partners as teammates. Teammates are not required to be of similar abilities. Players of higher ability will assist teammates of lower ability in developing sport-specific skills, and rules modifications should ensure the meaningful involvement of all teammates. The Unified Sports Recreation model extends the concept of unified sports competitive and player development to the non-competitive realm, offering inclusive recreational sports opportunities for students with and without intellectual disabilities. Unified sports recreation events are not required to meet the minimum training, competition, and team composition as required from the other 2 models of unified sports. An inclusive recreation sports event is one that engages students with and without disabilities in a sports activity. The recreation model includes several options for programming: Unified Physical Education, Unified Sports Experiences, Unified Field Days, Unified Sports Demonstrations, Unified Fitness Clubs, Unified Intramural Sports, and Inclusive Young Athletes programs. The competitive and player development models differ in a few significant ways. They are similar in that they both have an equal number of athletes with and without intellectual disabilities. The ratio of athletes with and without intellectual disabilities sometimes varies between sports. such as basketball or soccer, where you have a 5-on-5 unified team, where you have two athletes without intellectual disabilities paired on a team with 3 athletes with intellectual disabilities. The competitive and player development model differs in that in the competitive model, there are no modifications to Special Olympics general sport rules for that specific sport. In the player development model, we do make some modifications to those general rules. For example, in the competitive model for 5-on-5 basketball, both athletes with and without intellectual disabilities can score, pass, and guard one another. In the player development model, the modification to 5-on-5 basketball includes reduction in player dominance by those athletes without intellectual disabilities who may have a higher skill or ability level than their teammates. Another difference between the competitive and player development model is that in the competitive model, all athletes are similar age and sport ability level. In the player development model, although athletes are also of similar age, they may vary in their sport ability level. Another difference between the competitive and player development model is that in the competitive model, it's slightly more structured, and in the player development model, it's less structured due to the mentoring between the athletes without disabilities and those with. Special Olympics Montana offers opportunities for schools to participate in both the competitive and player development models in 13 sanctioned unified sports competitions annually. For winter sports, we offer alpine skiing in the events of unified advanced and intermediate slalom and giant slalom. We also offer a unified 4x100 meter snowshoe relay and a 2x1K cross-country skiing relay. For spring and summer sports, we offer Level 2 9-hole alternate shot and Level 3 18-hole alternate shot unified golf. We offer unified 5-on-5 soccer, a unified trio of cycling, swimming, and running triathlon, a 4x100 meter and 4x400 meter swimming relay, as well as unified bocce doubles teams, and kayaking unified 500 meter and 200 meter singles and 500 and 200 meter double tourist kayak. We also offer unified events in equestrian. This includes unified drill team of 2 and 4. In the fall, schools are welcome to participate in both unified doubles and team bowling, as well as unified 5-on-5 basketball. The third model of unified sports is recreation. Recreation differs from player development and the competitive model in that it's non-competitive. A unified sports recreation event offers recreational sports opportunities for students with and without intellectual disabilities. And it's not required to meet the minimum 8 weeks of training, competition, and team composition as required from the other 2 models of unified sports. The recreation model includes, but is not limited to, the following activities: unified physical education, unified sports experiences, unified field days, unified sports demonstrations, unified fitness clubs, unified intramural sports games such as flag football, kickball, etc., and the Inclusive Young Athletes program. There are several programs that can help elementary schools meet the inclusive sports component. For pre-K through first grade classrooms, Unified Champion Schools can start a Young Athletes program. The Young Athletes program engages children ages 2 to 7 with and without intellectual disabilities in activities that introduce basic sport skills like running, kicking, and throwing. As part of the Young Athletes program curriculum, participating students can demonstrate their sport skills during a school assembly or during a local state level competition. For more information about the Young Athletes program, please visit our UCS website or contact your local outreach director. For students grades 2 and above, Unified Champion Schools can elect to include unified sports like bocce or soccer into their regularly scheduled field days. Or they can just ensure that students with and without disabilities are participating in playing together in all field day opportunities. For the older grades, schools can also choose to offer a unified fitness club or unified physical education or unified PE. There are also several programs that can help middle schools meet the inclusive sports component. Middle schools tend to incorporate unified PE into their curriculum as well as follow the unified sports models of unified sports competitive, unified sports player development, and unified sports recreation. Special Olympics Montana has seen a lot of success with middle schools who start unified clubs. These unified clubs commit to engage students with and without intellectual disabilities in fitness activities and intramural sports like bowling throughout the course of the school year. Similar to programming in middle schools, high schools can incorporate unified PE into their curriculum, as well as follow the unified sports model of competitive, player development, and sports recreation. Unified clubs in high schools can also organize and host a sports experience in which student athletes without intellectual disabilities host a skills camp or clinic for or scrimmage against the traditional or unified sports Special Olympics team at their school. Competition for unified high school sports in Montana is very active in basketball, soccer, and relay events. To support our advocacy for inclusive sports, Special Olympics International has conducted a few surveys providing us with the data. This data includes that 79% of unified sports teammates without intellectual disabilities have reported increased understanding of people with intellectual disabilities. And 94% of athletes and teammates say unified sports made them healthier, and 91% of athletes and teammates report unified sports improved their sports skills. Our annual survey also revealed that 82% of family members in the United States report that athletes improved their self-esteem after participating in unified sports. 83% of athletes also reported having more friends without intellectual disabilities after participating in unified sports. And of those surveyed, 85% of athletes reported exercising more every week as a result of unified sports participation. These results alone show that participating in inclusive sports can result in overcoming some of the challenges stated earlier. We hope that you will choose to include unified sports at your school. And for more information, you can visit somt.org/unified strategy. Our next webinar will be hosted Tuesday, December 12th from 4 to 5 p.m., and the topic will be inclusive youth leadership. Thank you so much for participating, and we look forward to seeing you next time.